he called like something that was chasing him a penis monster, and it was funny, and we were kids, and it was
then
cool.
You
and I
played
was
Resident Evil.
Hey everyone, welcome to Nerd on the Podcast. You didn't need, but deserve, where all levels of nerd are welcome. Deep within the Arklay Mountains, STARS Alpha Team enters a mansion where evil resides. Today we talk about the game franchise that was inspired by Sweet Home and has created the world of spin-offs. We are talking today about Resident Evil games. All of them.
All of them.
As a topic.
Your was that your zombie sound?
That was.
Blah, 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 blah. Sounds like another noise. Anyways. But before we jump into that, we're going to introduce ourselves. My name is Ali, one of your hosts.
I am Tom.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Corey.
Corey is joining us from the interwebs again.
Down in.
I'm in the interwebs.
He is in the
Superhuman
interwebs.
Samurai.
And I am Josh, and this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon. The Nerd On Nation allows us to continue to grow and keep the lights on and bright. As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun stuff.
Perks.
Like a Discord server where you can talk to us and other members. There's bonus episodes. There's early access. There's a lot.
A lot of stuff.
And it just keeps growing, and we love it. So, check that out, nerdon.io/Patreon. Hey, Tom, why don't you tell the folks at home what else brings us this episode?
Back to me, Trisha Takanawa.
It's going to rain.
In today's news, we have also, if you'd like to support the show, check out comic books that have been inspired by such works as Resident Evil by checking out nerdon.io/comicsology, the internet's #1 source for getting comic books.
We need to add a ting
Every time. So if you aren't familiar with Comixology, it's a great interface where it allows you to borrow books if you have comic books, Comixology Premium,
Unlimited.
And if you've never read comic books before, it's great because the interface allows you to just focus on one panel per panel, so you don't know where to go. Sometimes left to right, up to down, backwards sometimes. And this is a great way to curate your interest if you're ever interested in getting to comic books. And I have a good friend that recently, because of our recent episode of The Boys, got into Comixology and
nice.
used our link. So
Nice.
use it, nerdon.io/comicsology. And just know that if you use that link, it does help the show and keep our lights on.
This is true.
Yes.
So this is interesting. We're talking about Resident Evil.
Yes.
Because it is.
We're talking about the games to be specific, not the movies.
Not the
Games,
movies.
right.
And I mean, because it's
Someday we'll do the movies.
Halloween time.
Yes, it is.
If you celebrate
the
that,
spooky times.
the Oktoberfest.
My dad's favorite holiday.
Yes.
Oh.
Also, our shout out to Anthony Steves of the Capes Crusaders, his favorite holiday as well.
Of course.
And he always does something fun and awesome. But Resident Evil,
Yes, he
it's
does.
a game from Capcom, or it's a franchise from Capcom that, again, has spawned worlds of so many things from it. Where do we even begin? Where do we start?
I
do
feel
have-
like we...
I do want to say
Start at
that
the very beginning. Very good place.
It's true.
it is very true. I do have to say, like, preparing for this episode, I had no idea how unprepared I was
Oh.
because I had no
Wait,
idea.
you never played 31 more games?
I had no idea that there were that many, and so
There's too many.
there were so many. Like, I didn't know about the spinoffs. I didn't know about all these things. So when I was going to research, I thought it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
There's only 24 of them.
Yeah,
No, there's more.
there's
Oh.
a bunch of spinoffs.
Just
There's
kidding.
I had
There's a
no
lot of
idea,
different-
and getting to dig into like researching the timeline, researching even the release timeline. It was very enlightening because I haven't played as many of them, and so when we were through our Twitch streams playing 7 together, I was lost in terms of from a plot standpoint.
Sure.
I was like,
Sure.
how is this
A
a
thing.
part
so
of
why
the
did,
franchise?
so why did you buy it?
Because
I wanted to.
I wanted to play it. I wanted to try it. It wasn't.
That's a valid enough reason. Tom.
Well, the game itself doesn't necessarily like rely on your knowledge of Resident Evil. I don't think.
No,
For
I
you
want to know
follow.
the answer because
But-
the number of 7 is daunting. Because it's like, oh, should I start from the beginning? Do I want to ride the hype train? And those are completely valid
Yeah.
points or reasons, and that's why I wanted to ask why Josh is specifically before Caitlin just
I mean, in all honesty, it was a hype train thing. It was also, I've heard that it's one of the best horror horror survival games in a long time, and I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And so so that getting to see that, I was like, wow, there's a lot to this franchise that I had no idea.
I think you kind of, in a way, led us to like initial reaction to and our first impressions of when we got into the franchise.
Yeah, I would say like our first.
So, Josh, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Well, was that your first Resident Evil game though?
No. I remember when
what's
the
yours?
original came out on like PS1, and I remember playing it little. I will say I have never ever finished.
Because you're a scared little baby.
I am a
finished one?
scared little baby. I have never finished a Resident Evil game. I think I just.
You're welcome here.
I hope so. Yeah, I do realize that I've never actually finished one. I've played most of the main series of
Main
like
series.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 and 6 I haven't. But yeah,
That's my experience has been with the mainline series.
yeah.
And I always knew about the offshoots, but I never like cared to play them
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I don't generally as a gamer, I'm more like I play fewer games for longer rather
Yeah.
than playing like a
I didn't even know that they existed.
plethora of games. So yeah.
You're not an installments type. You're like the one game that has a lot of like
yeah,
big
like
game.
nowadays.
like Grand Theft
but-
Auto or some shit like that.
Right. But my first experience with Resident Evil was, I believe it was Resident Evil 2, rented from Blockbuster.
Ah,
Yeah.
Oh,
Mine was 2 as well.
the better rental company.
No. I played as Leon, I think, the first time I played. And then,
This
I
is
remember-
before your renaissance of only playing as girl characters.
right. This is before, maybe the beginnings or, inspired the beginnings. But the first game I really got into for Resident Evil was Code Veronica X.
Code Veronica.
I want to say, no, it's Code Veronica on
Yeah.
Dreamcast. Code Veronica X was the
Re-release, I
PlayStation
think.
re-release, yeah. So Code Veronica on Dreamcast, that was because I was watching a friend play it. Well, when I was it was like a sleepover or whatever, and my friend was playing that, and I was kind of
It was a
watching
sex
him play.
bungalow. We get it.
Yeah, sex bungalow. Between sessions, we would go play Resident Evil.
Yeah.
But it was just fun, and he called like something that was chasing him a penis monster, and it was funny, and we were kids, and it was
and then
cool.
you
and I
played
was like,
Resident Evil.
There it is.
Good job.
Josh, I'm so proud of you.
that's my applause for the audio listeners. That was my applause. I applauded him for that.
I think I broke Caitlin.
Kaylin's just lost it over there.
but why?
¿Por qué no?
Because we were young and experimenting.
And then we played
My
Resident Evil.
sleepovers were very different. Anywho,
Anyways,
I also started with 2.
2.
On PlayStation. Proud of me, Tom?
I was just about to say my brain quit for a
It's the
second.
only place you can
That's
get
when
it.
I
PlayStation.
learned I didn't like the game
Was it
controller.
before-
No, I'm just kidding.
Before Analog
Um,
Sticks, I think, probably.
No, it had analog sticks.
It had analog sticks. Okay.
So I played it on the PlayStation with my buddy Chris Carlin. Shout out to the night. And I got to play as Leon, who to this day is still my favorite Resident Evil character. And I just remember being simultaneously enthralled and terrified that I couldn't move and shoot.
Tank controls.
Yeah, it was so scary. You had to get some distance, take a few shots, and then run around in a circle, get some distance, take a few shots. I will never forget the sheer terror that he and I shared when we first saw the dog on the ceiling
Oh,
in the police station in Resident Evil 2.
The liquors.
And that's when I was sold on it. I loved it
Yeah.
before, but when that happened, I was like, oh, this is a different type of game. So yeah, that I to this day, I'll be really honest with you, never played one.
To this day.
To this day,
I played one.
I never
on
played one.
GameCube. But we'll go over that.
But 2 is still one of my favorites. I've watched a lot. At the time that the remake came out, unfortunately, couldn't afford it. But I watched a ton of videos.
I do want to play that really bad.
and it looks amazing.
Yeah,
And
the remake.
and Leon's just a shit. But I've gone on to play 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7, as well as 0, Resident Evil 0, which is a prequel to 1, which I've never played. So it was kind of confusing. I probably missed a lot about it, but I had a ton of fun. I played it on the Wii, which was a weird experience. I don't know if anyone else played.
Oh.
It's arcade style. So you had the rifle with the Wii, and you had to like aim it at the TV like an arcade game.
Whoa.
Like
Like a
it was
like a cabinet.
trip.
Weird.
Yeah.
Those are technically
it,
called the light gun games.
wasn't as fun.
Oh.
It was way hard. But 2 and we'll go deeper into that later, which my favorites are.
Wii's motion controls were not 1-to-1 at that point. They were more closer 1-to-1 during Wii U.
No.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
0 is just a difficult game. Like it's one of the more, I would say it's one of the most difficult Resident Evil games.
Yeah, I mean they really upped the ante in terms of the survival horror difficulty after 2.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to prevent people from actually renting games.
Well, and 0 came out after GameCube.
Yeah,
The
it came out-
GameCube
it came after the remake.
of Resident Evil
They
1.
wanted to use the N64 properties or artifacts.
GameCube.
Assets. Yeah. For moi, so Josh, I also was a scared little bitch, and I never played any of the Resident
What
Evils.
changed?
I
Nothing.
stopped being one. But no, I stopped playing. I never played them as a kid because I was always super afraid to play them. I think the scariest thing, like Twisted Metal, was scary for me, because like
was a
Sweet
clown.
Tooth and
Yeah.
Minion and all that.
Yep.
And I shied away from them. I played like all the cabinet games and arcades of like Time Crisis and like House of the Dead, which was like this was inspired by this. But I didn't actually start getting into it until I got a GameCube. And the first game I ever played was the one that fucking changed the franchise for better or for worse. Resident Evil 4.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's the one where you start with Leon Kennedy.
Yep.
And you gotta save the president's daughter. Anyways.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite Resident Evil.
To me, it holds a close place in my heart because this is also back in the day when you go to EB Games or you go to GameStop, and then when you bought a game, they can offer you like X amount % off with the guide. And I bought the guide because I was like, I've never played one.
Strategy
This
guides,
looks dope.
baby.
And I got it, and I played it with my sister. Shout out to my sister Tammy, and she would have the guide with her. And I was like, I'm gonna get as far as I can. Just like help me out if I don't know if like what I'm getting myself into, or if I die multiple times. I'm like, all right, just give me the guide. But we played it, and it was like, you know, again that fun of watching your friend playing it, but it's like my sister just like kind of just being supportive and making sure like I can play the game.
I brought something. Keep rolling. This is worth it. Trust me.
So I was playing it, and I after that I like got into the world of what Resident Evil was, and then the next evolution or the next step of my Resident Evil experiences have been playing the remake, which I streamed on Twitch, and that was my first time ever playing it. And then I played 7 with you guys on Twitch, and after that I had friends who played like 2 in front of me and 3 in front of me, but that was mainly it. I played a little bit of, which one we played, Corey? 6?
6.
We played a little bit of 6, and that was like kind of madness for me.
Yeah.
And what Ollie brought for everyone that's not watching it is
It
our
is
Resident
a
Evil book.
Hardcover strategy guide for Resident Evil 5.
Whoa.
Wow.
Mhm.
I
just
didn't
have to
even know they
say-
did strategy guides in hardcover.
Me neither. I think that was gifted this.
Oh, well.
I didn't really use it though, because that's kind of against the point of a Resident Evil game, I feel. But I did. I might have picked at it once for a map or something. I can't remember. But I never really used it as a guide.
I feel like strategy guides, the name is false. Strategy guide, like it just tells you
It's a
how to do
walkthrough.
things.
It's a
It is a
walkthrough.
walkthrough.
Yeah. I think also, but I mean, sometimes they were good where it's like, hey, you can choose to like fight this boss now, or you can choose to fight him later. He'll be harder,
there
but
were
then you
some
get better
things,
items.
like how to
Yeah.
fight the boss better or whatever.
So like stick to his, like stay close to his back. He won't
Yeah.
hit you, but like
Use
don't go in front of
fire
him.
because that's his weak. Yeah.
I use guides a lot in Final Fantasy games more because I wanted like to collect everything
yeah.
and I wanted
Yeah.
You want to find that one
So-
chest
yeah.
under
But
that one
that's
ladder under the
more
cave.
walkthrough instead
Right.
of like strategy of like this is
Yeah.
how you should
Right.
be playing it.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I mean, for me, and so this also all got compounded. So before I started playing like the remakes or like 7, I watched actually I started watching the live action films, but then I started watching the animated films, and that are rooted in the video game lore.
Wow.
And so Degeneration was the first one I think they made, and that stars Leon Kennedy, and he runs into Claire. So it's kind of fun to see where the story wants to kind of go in these little off-brand OVAs, if you will.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's been my experience with Resident Evil.
Mhm. Yeah.
Caitlin.
And
Oh, before
to
Ollie.
finish,
ahead.
well, I was going to finish the
Go, go, go.
picture of like, so I've played 0 through 6.
Okay.
Like I've beaten all.
You beat
of
the
those.
number ones, not the offshoots.
Yeah, I beat
Technically,
0 through
Code
6.
Veronica is an offshoot, but it's not supposed
Right,
to be.
including that. That's I guess so. Then
Yeah, that's
that's
one.
one more game that is not a numbered whatever. But yeah, like 7, I haven't like I've experienced 7 as much as we've experienced on stream.
Nice.
Like I haven't really
We all experienced it together.
dove into that.
Aw,
Yeah.
And then we played Resident Evil.
penis monster.
So, Caitlin.
So I'm gonna be a little bit the outsider with experience level wise, because most of what I've played with this was like, I think it was like a cabinet, like an arcade game. Because I used to go to like Mr. Gaddy's and bowling alleys and whatever. So I only experienced little chunks of it at a time. And then when I was at friends' houses and they were playing, I am not great with scary games. If you guys have been in on the Twitch streams, I'm not great
don't
with scary
say.
games.
I don't think you're great with scary subjects.
Anything really. Which I have worked very hard to be more okay with zombies now. Shaun of the Dead scared me, if that tells you anything.
No, a printer just went off a few minutes ago, and you went,
Yeah,
Corey and
it
I
did.
break into song. It scares you.
Yeah, it scares the shit out of me pretty much every time.
Baby.
I compare you to.
That's not even fair. So I have not personally played through these games, but I was very intrigued by them and went out of my way to watch Let's Plays of other people play scary games.
So you've gotten a pretty good
I've
idea
gotten,
of how
like,
they play through and play out.
like couch. If it were friends playing a game, I was on the couch like hiding behind 3 pillows, but still like watching under tiny bits of pillow. Or if it was a Let's Play, it had to be someone who could, like Markiplier, I think was the one that I watched all the time, because he would find ways to like make scary things funny.
Yeah,
and that was the
break the
only way
tension.
that I could take in scary games.
I do want to. I hate to take away anyone's safe space, but like if the zombies were attacking you, I think pillows wouldn't do anything to save
Not
you.
at all. No.
I'm just like
It's just protecting her eyes from seeing it, kind of thing.
versus
Ki-
your
She
own.
could duck
kind
away.
of like I can get away from the scary thing as
Yeah.
quickly
Yeah.
as possible.
if I don't
like,
see that I'm dying, it's much
You
It's
don't
better.
see
fine.
me.
See, and I will say that my training, kind of getting more okay
Your
with
training?
my literal training, was playing games like Left 4 Dead. It took me a very long time to enjoy those games, but I really wanted to not be so scared of it. So I went out of my way to like play some zombie games.
Did you
Make
harness
sure
the
you could do what the heroes did in game, so you could like craft a bat chainsaw thing if you needed to, and
No, I couldn't play
Do a
that
drop
one.
kick?
That was the one on the island.
Did you,
Dead
in your
Island.
training,
I
did
tried, it
you
didn't go well.
harness the strength of a great typhoon? Were you more mysterious than the dark side of the moon?
Yes. Now
Okay.
I can fight the Mongols. Anyway,
Huns.
puns.
Compare you to.
Ow!
Just
That wasn't
peeked
fear. That was
every-
just pain.
Just peaked
I
everyone's
can't
ears.
believe I remembered
My
his
ear
name.
is
Real fear.
bleeding.
Yeah, the Huns. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, I
But yeah, so I have not personally played these games, but I enjoyed watching them and the puzzles that happened, and the jump scares are there.
Are
They're
there?
there, and they got me. But what we did on the stream is the most that I've like sat through. The most a controller has been in my hands for one of those games. And
Well,
I
money has
don't
been
remember
involved.
very much because
With-
I may have blacked out when it was happening.
With oh Mama Marguerite with her nest little Gucci gooch
Oh,
and
God.
all the things that come out of her.
Icky.
Um,
But it, and I did watch some of the like I forget which movie I saw, but I saw some of the live action ones for Resident Evil
we're not
too.
talking about this games.
I know, I'm aware. I'm just saying that's my frame of reference for this franchise. So that's about as far as things got of me like hiding under a pillow and sometimes playing a cabinet game or watching a movie.
What the fuck did we do? Did you forget that?
And that.
Oh, okay. Well, I was
I
gonna
brought
say,
it up already.
Oh, I was gonna say, and then Tom and I played Resident Evil 2
Oh yeah, we
Outlast.
did. I forgot. I'm
pe-
sorry.
yeah,
oh, you guys did?
Yeah, I
she
went
made
over
a
it.
big old deal, and we were like, "Yeah, we should probably play a game and all that stuff to get prepared for this episode." And we played it.
Yeah,
Nice.
we've played 2, right? 2?
Resident Evil Outlast 2.
Outlast 2.
Revelations.
It
Revelations.
didn't even start, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. There was a big scary eye and barbed wire.
Oh yeah, and that's cool because I mean, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. It uses some of the mainstay characters in there. But I mean, yeah. So this is a little bit of an interesting episode. There won't be any guest at Grump. There won't be any
No.
rating or anything like that because we're just talking about the franchise as a whole. It's almost like an RS episode. But I think it does serve to tell or to talk about it with our audience a little bit of the history of the game, in terms of the industry as well as the story and the lore. Does anyone want to take a shot at it?
Duh.
I didn't prepare anything.
Tom.
Okay. So for everyone at
I
home
didn't
who's
know we were doing that
I know, right? This is a whole brand new
for
episode
30 games.
for 31 games.
Oh my
So close.
God.
So for everyone at home that's first time listening to Resident Evil, or like if you even heard of Resident Evil has been part of the Capcom history and lore for over decades now. And as Ollie introduced it, it was based off of one of Capcom's first titles, Sweet Home, which was a horror genre game, which you were one character and you're going through this house of horror and madness. And when they got the lead developers of the game, which Caitlin will mention, the Potatoes, they decided they wanted to remake it. And they were going over a bunch of test footage, and they realized they can use a lot of the PlayStation's assets to create 3D models and 3D worlds, and then created the first ever horror survival horror genre. So this was like the first time they made it, and they actually all they all didn't think it was going to sell as many copies as it did. It wasn't like a huge blockbuster, but it would, we live in a world where there's a seventh one, and then a new project game is going to come out where it's a team survival.
Project Resistance. By the time we're recording this. But the game in itself follows characters who are in a house, and then they find this mysterious lab, and they realize that people have been resurrected or reanimated through a virus that was created and tested on in this mansion in the Arklay Mountains. In 2, it gets expanded where this virus has expanded to the city, and in 3 is a prequel of 2 where it uses characters so you kind of go from the STARS characters of you get Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, then you get Claire Redfield, who's the sister of Chris, and you get Leon Kennedy, who is a Raccoon City police officer. But later on, yeah, I know. And later on, Code Veronica, which was never actually supposed to be was actually supposed to be 3. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis was actually supposed to be an offshoot because the original game designer wanted 2 to be the end. He wanted to just to end the game. But then under much rewrites, they actually hired a Hollywood producer or a Hollywood writer to write the story for Resident Evil 2. And that's why it played much more action-y and it was way harder. But with the end of 2, it expanded everything where there was government espionage and Umbrella. And then there's other companies, and that's when Ada Wong got introduced. So it's like, oh, there's more at large. And then Code Veronica is the one that really kind of like slammed open the doors of saying like, this goes back to way back in the day when they were testing this virus out. Yeah. And then 4 was not much of a lore change, but more of a genre change, and created like the mega blockbuster video game where it sold over 1 million copies and turned it to more of a shooter game. And then this would also follow for 5 and 6. But it wasn't until 5 that you started learning where the actual strand of the T virus came from.
It goes way back.
From the flowers.
Yeah.
And by the time we get to 7, sales had gone up and down, wax and wane. Between all these actual numbers, there have been a bunch of like random spin-offs, such as like Resident Evil Shooter, Resident Evil Shooter 2, Resident Evil Gaiden, which was like a side scroller. And they had tried to figure out like, should we be more actiony? Should we be more first-person shooter like? What worked, what didn't work? And by the time we get to 7, another paradigm shift where we got to not the first time we're going to first-person perspective. Well, it shifted because it's like they would have a game that was very much more action-oriented and it sold well, and they're like, oh, we're going to do that. And then it doesn't sell well, and people are like, no, we want that horror survival game. And they're like, okay, we'll do that. But it doesn't sell as well. And then they kind of, like you were saying, they go back and forth. And finally they were like, fine, we'll do a horror survival.
Yeah.
And
I think
7.
this was the biggest departure, I would say, from the mainline series.
So for the most part, 1 through 6 or 0 through 6 had followed like the STARS and Raccoon City and what happened, the events of Raccoon City. And you had Albert Wesker, and then you had Chris Redfield, who and Leon Kennedy and Chris Redfield were probably the most fleshed out characters that actually had like storylines that went through, and then they would intertwine with
dialogue and whatnot.
And then 7 was the first time that
there's dialogue in this.
Yeah,
in 7. But
in 7, it was the first time they were like, we're not going to talk about Raccoon City at all. We're not going to talk about a virus. We're not going to talk about Chris. We're not going to talk about Leon. Albert Wesker's dead. Spoilers. And we went back to a horror genre, survival horror genre, and the way the survival horror genre is depicted for everyone at home, it's you have limited amount of inventory. You're going through a closed, confined space. It isn't so open world, which later 4, 5, and 6 became, where it was like quick time events. You have objectives. You're going from A to B. You're with a team. It's more a shooting game instead of like I'm not supposed to kill everything. The odds are always stacked against me, and the way that the character interacts with the geography of the space as well as the enemy is always at your disadvantage. And of course, there's scary stuff. Always a good door to open up.
in a black space.
And yeah, so we've now seen at this point of recording, Resident Evil 2 had a remake that was like phenomenal. Everyone fucking loves it. And Resident Evil 2 again, like it was an evolution of 1, and they have had their own remakes. They remade 1 for GameCube. Now they remade 2 now for all current modern consoles.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of wrapped things up, really, in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go over because I mean, there are videos that are an hour long that you can get the timeline breakdown and the history breakdown.
You can go in pretty deep.
In terms of
do.
the virus, it's always like a Jurassic Park cautionary tale. Hey, make a thing. All of a sudden, the thing evolves. Hey, there's a T strand. There's a G strand.
Tom.
Let's talk about Resident Evil. Please.
Hell yeah. And then, so like the thing evolves into like a plaga. So it's a more of a sentient being. People get mind controlled. Albert Wesker is like this one dope STARS agent,
dude.
also like a lab assistant, but also he's infected and he has superpowers. And then Chris Redfield, who's like, I could punch boulders.
Yeah.
And then Leon Kennedy, who's just like, I have the sexy ass jacket that Corey wants.
I do want that jacket.
But
no lie.
A cool fun fact is that through Resident Evil, we actually wouldn't have one of Capcom's other highest selling franchises.
Oh yeah.
Because when they were developing after 3 or after Code Veronica, they started developing Resident Evil 4. And the game designers were like, let's make it around a hero. Let's make it around monsters and demons and European Gothic world.
Oh, yeah.
And then they were like, no, this is too much of a departure. And then they decided, let's just make that something else. And they called it Devil May Cry.
Oh.
If you play the first Devil May Cry game, there's a lot of weird like Mancini puzzles and it feels very much like Resident Evil.
Yeah.
On the slow parts, obviously, while you're not juggling a demon into the air with your sword and then keeping him in the air with the bullets from your 2 guns.
Well, also switching between 3 different fighting styles.
And then you have beast mode or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean,
is there like an issue here?
No, not at all. It's like
logical.
That's not Resident
Corey,
Evil.
you can have Leon's jacket. I'll have
Decidedly.
Dante's jacket. Hell yeah.
Deal, dude.
Hey man, if you want to give Leon like a chain gun, I mean, I think you get one at some point. But.
Chicago typewriter, baby. That's what you get at the end. So yeah, I mean, I think after that little synopsis thing, we'll go into our meat and potatoes. We'll go into production, a little bit of like the developers and the history of it, and then we'll go into some of our favorite parts of our favorite games.
Sure.
All right.
Caitlin.
Production. This was made by Capcom, who did Street Fighter, Mega Man, Devil May Cry, Monster Hunter, Ace Attorney. The developing company is also Capcom. Notable creators, part of this is Shinji Mikami, who did God Hand, Dino Crisis, and The Evil Within. And then Toguro Fujiwara, yep. Mega Man Disney games such as Aladdin. I love that game. Aladdin. Little Mermaid, DuckTales, Chip and Dale, and Gargoyles. Number in the series says 24 games to this recording, but you said 31?
There's over 31 games.
Over 31 games. That's
including the mobile games. There's over 31 games.
There's so many games. Notable franchises, it's movie and animated film series as well. The original release date is March 22nd of 1996. And then the cast, the main characters are Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Leon Kennedy, Claire Redfield, and Albert Wesker, who we've pretty much mentioned everybody at this point.
And then also, sorry, I didn't write that down. Barry Burton.
Barry Burton, yes.
Oh, right.
Fucking Barry.
Ada Wong.
Ada Wong. Too.
Ada Wong. There's a lot of
Whatever your guy's name is.
Well, in terms of reoccurring characters, they're the ones that get the most.
The main squad.
Yeah. So.
But them's the peeps.
Fucking,
them's the productions. It's not a lot.
The peeps.
Obviously, there's a lot more people involved than just that list. The voice actors have switched out over time.
Did you see that script?
I'm just talking in general because, I'm from the voice actor community. There was a lot of hubbub of when they did the remake, and they got new people to do the main characters.
Voices, huh?
Right. There was, because you want the main cast to come back, and that didn't happen.
Between different games, it would be like certain different directors, but Shinji Mikami would be the one that like oversaw most of them. And be like,
right.
He's like, this is what's
he
sold.
is the through line.
Yeah.
He is there with every game.
He's the Feige of the 31 Marvel.
He's the Masahiro Sakurai of Super Smash.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, like even then with Resident Evil 4, they wanted to put in like ghosts and stuff like that, and there's like versions where it's like the ghost version, and then he used those assets to make Evil Within. And so like there is a lot of incestual things that Resident Evil does, and also
I wondered why so many of those like spoopy games that were coming out for a hot minute all looked really similar, and now everything kind of makes sense.
Well, the funny thing, I think the big comparison is between Resident Evil and Silent Hill.
Right.
Yeah.
But like even then, and we post this on our Twitter. Follow that. They
Follow the Twitter is the
ever.
words he was
Follow
trying
that,
to
follow that.
say.
But they're doing a Monster Hunter and Resident Evil crossover.
Yeah, I saw that
which
the
is
other
like
day.
which
So
is cool
bizarre.
that Capcom does those kind of things.
Who was it again? I can't remember the names.
I think it's everyone from Resident Evil 2. So you get
Everybody?
So you get Leon and you get Claire, and then also Mr. X.
Oh.
Wow.
So Mr. X is like
Wow.
hanging out with you, making food with you.
what?
He's like a friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we went camping.
Yeah. And you get to use all the weapons, and also all the heroes in the game are all like zombified.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fun.
So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff with Resident Evil, but let's get into the nitty gritty. Some favorite parts, favorite things of the games.
The nitty gritty. I have one.
Go for
No,
it.
go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you go.
I'll
Ladies
go.
first.
Damn it.
So yeah. And Corey,
Asian beauty before age beauty.
yes. Corey's gonna hate this. So when I first ever played Resident Evil 4, I didn't know what to do. Right. So like as any idiot, I try to aim my gun and shot the nearest thing with me. What do you do? What do you see the first thing when you spawn in Resident Evil 4? Some crows, and you shoot that, and then you get like a gem. And I was
bastard.
like, "Oh, yeah,
You
Corey.
bastard.
I know, I'm sorry. Hey, for the money though. But
No, I did it too.
Oh no.
But like it was that kind of thing where it's like, hey, like in terms of game design,
Just numbers.
they're just ones and zeros.
Polygons.
RNGs. In terms of game design, I just really enjoy that Resident Evil is very like it's like forgiving, but also at the same time not forgiving, right? So it's like you got to learn how to inventory manage,
Yeah.
and that is like to me that is the most daunting thing is to go through this like
Because you
fucking-
don't know what you're going to need.
Well, also go into this
Really?
crucible of thing, right? And then you're like, cool, I got health, I got ammo, cool. And then you get to a room, you're like, fuck, there's 7 things in here. I can only take 5. And you're like, I have to go through all this back.
Oh, this puzzle's here?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Well,
I didn't bring that.
like inventory is like a whole topic. Like my favorite one is 4,
Mhm.
and I loved the inventory system in that one. The attaché that you kept upgrading, and
Oh, yeah.
and you had to Tetris your stuff in there.
Yes.
But like Resident Evil 1, I played through.
The original one before the remake.
Well, no, the remake.
Okay.
Well, I still haven't played the original.
Okay.
Like I played the remake. I played with Jill. You get 8 slots.
Mhm.
One of them can be a knife.
Mhm.
Chris, I believe, I haven't checked, but you get 6 slots, and you have a built-in knife at all times.
You know the difference between that one and the original, right?
What?
With the original, I think you get 4 slots.
Oh Jesus!
And then like, so that was a big thing with the remake is that they gave you more, and then your gun or knife is part of your slot.
Part of it, yeah.
Oh.
So like the first one was so hard. if you
But
think
basically,
about it.
Chris is like hard mode,
Mhm.
and Jill is easy mode because of like kind
Inventory.
of how it is, and it's promoting you to use your gun more or use your knife more,
Mhm.
which I never got good at in those games. As far as like being able to safely swipe at a zombie until they died,
I got pretty good at that.
got pretty good at that because that's
It's
like
a timing
that's
thing.
the ultimate in resource management, where you're like, I don't even need my bullets. I can save them all for the boss. And except I can go knifing all these zombies or
You're doing what to them?
knifing.
Okay.
It was the hand gesture, I think. Had to be
It was
there.
It was
painting a-
Leviosa.
That's what it was, a flick of the wrist.
Corey,
Gosh.
some favorite parts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite games is 5 actually.
5's
It's
good.
probably one of the ones I played the most. And one of my favorite moments from it is it's in the beginning and you kill one of your first zombies in the game. You shoot its head off as it's attacking some random guy. And you think it's dead because every Resident Evil game you've played before that kind of has killed the zombie then. Suddenly, the way it's shot very cinematically, you see something stand up in the back and this long tentacle starts to grow out of where its head used to be.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yep.
And it immediately puts you back in the game. Like there's no like transition back in. There's no moment of like, all right, we're coming back
yeah.
into the game.
There's
There's
no
no camera
explanation.
sweep. There's no camera sweep of like, all right, you're coming into the character.
And
Here we
you're
go.
there.
But you're just suddenly thrust into it and you have to start shooting and kill this thing because it immediately starts hitting you too. And I just remember that may be one of the moments of sheer panic that I felt while playing games. Like almost dropped my controller because I had put it down to watch the cinematic. Like
Oh,
I remember
no!
reaching over and being like, "Oh no, it's over! I gotta kill this thing." I died the first time it happened because I had put it was a mess. But
Hell yeah.
I also loved that game because I played through it with Tasty D Money. Shout out to the night.
Your best friend?
We played through the whole thing together when I was in New York in like 3 sittings.
That's what
And
I
then
loved
we were
about
like,
that game.
Yeah,
Is the couch co-op.
The co-op.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And the
Massive
fact we played. I was
feature.
in New York and he was in California, so like we played across the country.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I
friendship.
played this whole game. We finished it and we're like, man, that was a good game. And there was this moment of silence and we're like, you want to try to get S class on every level? Yeah, sure do. So we went back to the beginning and played it.
Very good.
And here's the reason. The big reason 5 is my favorite is because I played as Shiva, and you get a bow and arrow.
Yep.
This is the one that's like mainly in like Africa, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an
you get a bow and arrow, and if you
Daylight.
get a headshot with it, it's a 1-shot kill
Oh.
on any normal
Very satisfying.
zombie.
Could you
and
go
it
get
doesn't
your
have
arrow?
a reticle.
Oh.
It doesn't have a
Oh.
reticle.
Could you go collect your arrow? I can't remember.
I can't remember, but I remember I became a friggin' sniper with that thing.
And this
I
is
miss it so much.
this is the one like somewhere towards the end, you run into Wesker, right? And then Claire
And you
throws
do
him
run
out.
into Wesker.
Yeah.
Claire throws him out the window.
And you have this moment. I mean, there's some in the game. There's some what's it called? Action events,
Actually, quick time.
Quick time.
Time.
quick time events. Thank you.
QTE.
And that's one of them. And he turns into a big like lava zombie. It's so terrifying. But that game has stuck with me more than any of the others in the franchise. Even though Leon's not in it.
Yeah.
He's in the sixth one.
But yeah, he
6,
is,
yeah.
which I didn't like as one.
Six.
I don't think anyone liked it.
Yeah, 6 definitely went a lot
Yeah.
more action.
Yeah.
But then
Shooter.
I think 5
quick
was a perfect
select.
balance.
Yeah, 5 was. I think you're absolutely right. 5 was the perfect balance between like transitioning from the old and meeting the new.
The sixth one is when Wesker dies, straight up, right? Like that's
Fifth
one?
one he died.
So who's
He's
the,
supposed to be dead. I didn't finish 6 because I don't like it.
I can't remember 6.
which one was the
But I know
which one was
in-
boulder
Too
punching?
much.
That was 5.
5.
That was 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at that point, because it's like Chris
And I
like
was bummed.
is like hella weak, and then all of a sudden he can't fight against Wesker. But then during the last point, like he actually is like comparable in terms of strength, and then that's why he's now in Marvel vs. Capcom. Yeah, fighting against Thor.
Exactly.
Of course.
Kaylin or Josh?
I'll go. I think the most fun I've had, because I didn't have friends. No, just kidding.
Oh.
What changed?
Most of the nothing. I haven't really had the experience of playing with friends with these games until 7, and so I've really
we your
enjoyed
friends?
you. I mean, I like to think so. I could be wrong.
Oh, he's right.
I'm gonna pull to 7 because I just loved. It was such a departure from everything, and it really felt like you were playing a horror film.
Mm-hmm.
And although that there is kind of like this overarching thing that you don't know
Until the
has
very end.
happened, that there is kind of like the scientific part about it and just the shit that went down to get to where we are in 7. But it was just it was a departure, but it was also kind of like a, hey, remember all the like the puzzles
Well,
and the inventory management
Yep.
and there were terrifying moments that I loved about it, where you were walking around and then all of a sudden Daddy walks by and you're like, and you go to try to see and he's gone and you're like, well,
He's gonna punch through the wall now.
yeah.
Ugh.
But I like that comparison because I played the remake first,
Yeah.
and I was not, familiar with tank controls,
Oh yeah.
and I was just like, oh my god. And then
Is that what it's called?
tank controls
Tank
when you
controls,
can't
yeah.
move and shoot at the same time.
Well, it's
and-
that you have to rotate your whole body
yeah.
before pressing
Well,
forward.
you have to go to your direction and then rotate and then shoot.
Yeah, like you can't press down and walk down.
Mhm.
You have to like rotate till your body faces down and then press forward.
Yeah. And then my boy Evan, shout out Mora, go listen to his music. He was like, turn off the tank controls. And I was like, okay. He's like, you will thank me later. And I was like, okay, cool. And comparing that to 7, where like it's in a house
Yeah.
and you have the little
It's also first person.
yeah. But I mean, the thing is, like, you're now like Resident Evil 1 was like you had these characters and you didn't know anything about them, And so, but you implanted yourself as that character. So I need to survive this. And with this, it's like, I don't know anything about this character. And all I know is that he's trying to get his wife. And then in the first one, it's like, I don't know anything about these characters. All I know is that they were trying to survive because
Survive the night.
these dogs are attacking us. And then asshole helicopter pilot's not here.
Get to whatever communication system you need to get to.
And you're going through this place and you're just trying to survive all the things that this place is throwing at you. And they give you enough stuff to survive, but then it isn't until the very end when like you start discovering like what actually went down in this house.
Yeah.
And that happens like around like once you open up like the water, the sewage systems, and you start seeing like Yawn, the snake. And then you start realizing like, oh, there's a lab underneath this mansion. And you're like, what is going on? And then you get the big twist of Wesker and all that stuff. And
The lab reveals are always fun.
Yeah, and I don't think you don't even get that much in 7 in that way.
You kind of do.
You get a flashback story and you play through it, and then you see like, oh.
Well, I would say like that whole second house. Is like kind of the lab reveal in a weird way.
In a weird way, yeah.
Yeah, but like when you realize, oh, there's like something going on under the mansion or whatever. Yeah.
Kaylin?
None
of it. I hate it.
No,
Hate it
it's
all.
I didn't say I liked the game.
well, I like the puzzle aspect of it. I like the having to.
The very easy puzzles.
I like having to remember where things are, where they go, like
What you saw.
leaving the
what
inventory.
you saw,
map, everything else kind of,
remembering. And it's probably just like my sort of noticing the mole on the back of the shoulder. I like remembering how those
the back
things
of the
play
neck.
into each other. Whatever.
Yeah. It's always been top notch too. Like there hasn't been, I don't think a Resident Evil game that's like been bad at that. Like they're all the puzzles have been interesting and fun to play through, and especially even like 7 doesn't stray away from that part.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
true to
Unless the game doesn't have puzzles. Like all the
What do we-
off brands.
Yeah.
that. Right.
But
Yeah.
I,
I guess
I
I'm
have
like,
no familiarity with any of
Yeah.
those, so that doesn't.
They're typically like, you know how Doom looks like?
because they're typically
That's
other
what it's like.
genres too. They're like shooters, specifically a shooter.
Yeah, that's how the Doom
game,
one
or
is, and
like-
it's just shooting.
Yeah.
And then there's like moments where like you have to go through different rooms, and then if you're not out of that room in a certain time, Nemesis comes out,
right.
and you just get out.
Oh.
Like that's it.
But yeah, so I would say puzzles for me are probably what I enjoyed the most. I.
So disconcerted.
Like
So many emotions.
I enjoy scary stuff, but I don't enjoy scary stuff just because I have an exceedingly
You have a
overactive.
visceral reaction.
My imagination is so overactive. Like I saw a commercial for it too, and I couldn't sleep for a week and a half.
Wow.
Like it's so scary video games are much worse because they're far more immersive than.
and then having the controller in your hands, you're like,
well, and
why?
I have this weird like guilt of if anything bad happens to my character.
It's all
Even
your
when you
fault.
have the options that you can be like a bad person in a video game, I'm like, no, I'm just gonna go and pet the chicken because that's a nice thing to do. Like I don't like.
Where's the button for me to just drive away from here and order a pizza?
Exactly. Like I want to give the character that option to leave, but I can't because the point of the game is to deal with these horrifying things. So I like it in that it forces you into that role, but I also hate it because it forces you into that role.
I mean, in terms of a macroscopic idea, I mean, I don't. Other than playing with us, there would be zero reason for you to ever pick up a Resident Evil game because, and that's kind of like a thing where it's like Legend of Zelda, right? Like you want to be an adventurer to explore the world
Right.
of Hyrule
It's
and
cool.
fight the evil wizard sorcerer man,
Except for at nighttime when all the skeletons come out of the ground. It's terrifying.
the bokoblins. But then in Resident Evil, like that has to be kind of an intrinsic thing where it's like I want to know what creates zombies. I want to know what goes bump in the
You've
night.
got to be hooked by the story and want to actually.
yeah,
get
and also just the
answers.
appeal of like I'm going to be like I like living in a horror movie. It's like I would have done this, I would have done that. You know, like how do you know? Ollie talks
And you
about
get
the
to do
horror
those
movie
things.
tropes. Like people just forget to run for some reason.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like in this, it's like nope, I'm running back. I'm just getting far
I-
away and cheese this bad guy as much as I can.
I'll say I like the story. The story is good, but it's scary. And I know that's the point,
Fair.
but still.
I do like about these games how the story kind of slowly unfolds.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how you're
Well-
given hints and then things start to unfold.
Mhm.
It's interesting to know that how like original game designer wanted to end it with 2 and then realize how much Capcom wanted to milk it.
Right.
And then they're just going to make games out of it. But then,
And now we're 31 games deep.
yeah, and like just how still through the numbers, there's still a actual like track that you could follow of like
There
how
is.
this virus evolved.
There is
and-
a singular narrative.
Yeah, and it's
through the, at
even
least the numbers.
even though you
the
don't
main
follow
games.
the same character, you're following the same
Storyline.
like systematic
Company and,
victim
like-
of
Right.
like this
Well,
virus. thing.
you have it's just like any other franchise. You have a bit of investment. You have a bit of, and it's better, I think, in this than most. Like compared to like even like a Final Fantasy game where there's references,
Mhm.
but in
Yeah.
this you actually characters like when Leon appears in 4 or 6, you're like, oh man, like I've been with Leon for how many other games?
Yeah.
One other game,
In-
one other
in-
game, but still, it was
People go, my
momentous.
boy.
My boy's back for the even numbers.
In 5, is it Plagas virus as well,
What?
or is it the same? Is it kind
In
of Plagas?
5,
In 4 is
Called something
Plagas
else.
4 it
because
had
they like open up like Demogorgon
I think
style.
4 was Plagas because it's Spanish. No, seriously,
Ouroboros.
because they're in
Ouroboros,
they're
yeah.
in that,
It's the
'cause
Ouroboros
they're in-
strain specifically.
they're in.
Yeah.
It takes place
It's
in Spain. Yeah, I think
Almost
I wanna say.
like the game is like a virus because all these offshoots are like different strains of the virus.
Except no one cares about them.
yeah,
Oh,
a weak
that's
virus.
sad.
Derived from the progenitor
You tried.
virus.
I tried.
Oh,
I
from the
did try.
progenitor virus. That's
Yeah.
the original one from the flowers in 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
And-
it's all plant based in it.
And then they use those plants, and then the scientist in Code Veronica starts making it, and then he makes it into the Arclay Mountains, and then in 0, that's when they discover it, and then 1 happens.
Yep.
Like the timeline is so crazy.
Timeline's
But the thing
screwed.
is, like,
Yeah,
it's
I totally
cool that they still
follow all
have
of
weaved it
that.
in.
Yep.
It worked.
You know, like it's still like Code
You buy
Veronica, like you go to this island and you find out where this thing came from. And then through 0, you're like, oh, this is what actually, because the point of 1 is that the Alpha team went to go save Bravo.
Yeah.
I
And
thought it
then-
was Bravo went to save Alpha.
No, Alpha team is who
Alpha went
saved
to
the
save
day.
Bravo. Bravo had been there
I'm
in 0.
sorry.
Bravo went to just investigate murders, dog-related murders in the mountains.
Oh.
And then Alpha went to like, oh, well, Bravo team sucks, so we gotta go save Bravo.
We gotta say Bravo. man.
Bravo team.
Mm.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But I mean,
tried.
I did.
with 1, I really, you know, like there's some kind of magic again. That's why 7 came back to like try to get the same like magic of
Mhm.
1, where it's like you are in this place and like the thing about 7 though, I will give it one critique is that with all the other games, never mind. I was gonna say like all the other games, you get a choice between using a boy or a girl. And that was kind
Oh,
of
I
a
see
nice
what
thing
you're
on the
saying. Yeah.
offset, like Pokemon, which is really nice. Like, and I think that's a little like bleeding edge at that point, where it was like
Mhm.
you gave the player the choice to choose who they wanted to play as.
Resident Evil
Oh.
2 was definitely ahead of its time in that sense, not only for the character pick, but for the story pick. Like
Which
you
one-
played a different like game.
A whole new story, and they would
Yeah.
intertwine with the other game.
Right.
Which one because I'm blanking is the one that you could switch between the two characters on the fly?
0.
6 0. Oh, 0.
0. You could switch between the girl and then the convict.
That was one of my favorite aspects. It was so cool to be like
Billy. That's right.
you could be playing as one character and then they could what the other is like,
Doing.
Yeah, other is doing is affecting how the other like. I just thought that was a really cool
That was
aspect.
That was
to
their
have.
that was their upping the ante from Resident Evil
It
1.
wasn't as cool in Outlast 2.
Revelations.
Revelations. Why did I say Outlast?
'Cause I said
just thought
Outlast
of
too.
scary things.
Yeah.
Having to shine the light on stuff to.
So in Revelations, and they're like offshoots, and they're kind of like mini episodes between the games, and so you follow Jill Valentine.
Moira.
Yeah, and then Moira is your like secondary person. So it's interesting because they kind of changed the way that you
And they
do.
each have different skills.
Well, they have different items, right? So like
Yeah.
Moira was like, I don't use a gun, and so she only uses a crowbar, so she's only like open doors.
Got it.
But then you're playing as the lead, either it's Jill or Claire. I'm sorry. I think it's Claire.
I think
I
it's
think it's Claire.
Claire.
Yes, it's Claire. And she's doing the fighty shooty. But then the entire time it's kind of like if she dies, you lose.
Mhm.
And so it has a nice twist on the escort mission vibe, because like you're like, oh, this person can attack, but the only
The
one
whole game is an escort mission.
But
because
she's key.
yeah, but then she could use a flashlight that could find items that you can't see if you're playing as
Well,
Claire.
and they make it more terrifying because later on you switch between
Barry.
Barry and Natalia,
Yeah.
I think was her name, who's a little girl. who cannot fight at all. Like she can maybe throw a brick
Helpful.
at something,
But the thing is,
but she can crawl through holes. She can like sense things.
other zombies.
Right.
So like it was interesting,
Interesting.
but
Yeah, which the Revelation games, like the first one got like not that great reviews, and the second one they like liked it a lot because it was just better polished and the better voice acting, as well as it felt better in because you're using characters that are part of the main storyline, and like I just love the fact that Barry also weird. Also shout out for the culture, everyone out there who loves Hunk. People love Hunk.
What's that?
Hunk is the guy that shoots
dude that-
the guy who created the G virus.
Oh.
And he's one of
Oh.
the Umbrella like corporation's like main SWAT dudes. He's a skin you could play during Resident Evil 4 during the time attacks.
Oh, okay.
He starts out with a Chicago typewriter,
Oh, dang.
and so like he's just like a fan favorite from the Resident Evil franchise.
Okay.
So
well, hell.
Interesting.
Corey, any other favorites or mentions?
I mean, I could keep going on and on. I mean, I do have one more from 5 that I totally forgot about.
Talk.
I know I keep talking about 5, but there's this boss that has a chainsaw in 5. And
Lovely.
Ollie, I don't know if you remember that one. You're in this. So the way it works is there's 2 apartment complexes and then this like
Gets all the
narrow walkway in the middle. And there's a boss with a chainsaw, and the only way to stop him is by shooting him in the head. So a headshot, which he can sprint.
Oh.
So sprinting at you with a chainsaw and trying to do a headshot before he gets to you.
The bag heads?
Yeah.
I think
there's a boss though.
the boss version of him, because I know they present him.
In 4.
They kind of present him. No, in 5.
Well, I know 4 is the
kinda
first one that have
present-
bags and chainsaws, but in 5,
Yeah. They present him as a boss, but then you fight him as normal ads. But
yeah. I
the
just remember the
boss
first
fight, I
time
don't
you
remember
fight
that
him,
now.
it was the
yeah.
scariest thing in the world
Mhm.
because they can sprint at you with a chainsaw.
Yep.
The movements are super unpredictable, and the only way to stop them is when they're at the top of their swing at you
Uh-huh.
and you shoot them in the
gotta
head.
Get out or, shoot him in the head.
Very
And
timing
so-
based.
Mhm.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it was terrible. And
Yeah.
then you're a lot of the time you're when you're playing with a friend, they're stuck on the roof taking out other zombies while
The
you're taking on
roof
the boss.
access.
Mm.
Those
Yeah.
the thing I'll give you I'll agree with you on 5 is the set pieces were great. Like the environments, like
Mm.
going through the level, finding like leading. Like I remember playing with my brother Sean. Shout out to Sean.
Shadow Sean.
And like I would have to like lead him off like around into the roof
I
or
lead
like
him on.
down so that we can like get him into a narrow passage to then take them out a little bit easier. Like there was a lot of that going on with that game, which I really like.
He just went off into another world.
Those,
I really.
There were like executioner
Really
dudes too, right?
In 4, there's characters called Executioners. I
Yeah.
believe.
That
They're
guy was scary.
the Wolverines like
The,
that like
Mm-hmm.
are blind, and then you have to make sounds around them.
Is that the executioner?
I think so. I mean, there's a lot of character names
There's
for
an
different.
But
executioner
anyways,
in
there's-
5, and he carries a giant axe.
That's the one I'm
and he's
thinking of.
Terrible.
Oh yeah, oh, so-
That's
okay.
the one I'm thinking of.
Okay.
That thing
He's
is
scary
a
as
beast.
shit.
I've never played 5, but I saw the movie and I saw the
Oh.
Executioner, so that's
So
what
you
I'm
would
like,
call
oh.
a bullet sponge.
Yeah.
So Tom, here's the thing about 5.
Yes, please.
It's backwards compatible now, and I
Oh.
own a steelbook
Mhm.
collector's edition version of it. If you ever want to play through it with me,
You
So I could play it on my.
Yeah, I
that,
should
that was the
definitely play it.
most
I'm in.
casual way to ask Tom out ever.
Yeah.
yeah.
If you want to come over here and
Yeah,
play
this
games
too.
sometimes.
I have
Look at that.
Tapatio Doritos and beer
and offer foot rubs.
Two
and
guys.
Netflix.
Resident,
Chilling in
Evil,
a hot tub.
Resident
Yeah.
Evil and
And I
chill.
have
The executioner
cats.
that has an axe that's the size of his body.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Sexy.
In 4 for me, like
It's a big boot.
so going back into it, there is a enemy type that is literally like I called him Wolverine because he would have these giant machete claws.
Oh.
And then like he was like you would just see him inside like an Iron Maiden, like literally it caged up in an Iron Maiden, and you would just see red eyes. And then like the
Oh.
moment you fix or you like solve a puzzle, the door was like no.
No.
And-
No.
And of course, they don't show you like what it can do or what even
No.
really fully looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Until it like bursts through a wall.
And I mean, also Resident Evil is like so good at like just putting dirt where it fucking hurts, like right in the wound. Because right when you get decapitated by this Wolverine guy, the screen goes, "You're dead." I'm like, no shit, man. You fucking ass.
Did you know?
I'm like, God.
Continue.
But like, I mean, for me, you guys will have 5, but for me, it'll be 1 and 4 specifically. But 4, like, I just liked each as well. Like, you could upgrade the guns. I think in 1, you never could upgrade your gun. You just got better guns.
I think it was 5 and 6, right?
Yeah, I think 5 again because 4 was the one that you started
4.
getting more action based.
Right.
But like getting a gun that had a silencer with a red dot sensor on
Right.
it, and then getting a gun that had like a handle, or getting a gun that shot like bigger rounds or more automatic, which is dope. But also the merchant.
The traveling merchant guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, for a price.
Yeah.
But like if you killed him, he never came back and you could never get
Oh, I
items.
didn't even know you could kill him.
Oh, you can kill them.
Oh, shit.
And don't.
No, I never dared.
And so like, once you get
This
to the
guy's useful. I'm not gonna kill
well,
him.
the thing is like, the
You
thing
make your
is,
choices.
for me, but also like, so there's 2 schools of thought, right? It's like, do you want to play the game to be challenged?
First thing you do, find that guy, kill him.
right? And
Start the real game.
and then you just have your wits amongst you, or do you
With
just
your
keep
10
playing through
item
the
slots
game
or whatever it is.
and then you increase your slots and increase your, like the weapons you find, but then at the very end you'll get the infinite launcher or the Chicago typewriter that have infinite bullets. So you're just like, all right, cool, I'm just gonna mow people down. And so those are different things. But I mean, it's interesting to see like different types of enemy types, especially with 1 through 3 was very much like the big boss is different, right? And with 4, 5, and 6 was more like the different types of enemies you're going to come across are much more varied. Because like in 1, all you got was like regular zombies, red zombies that came back after you killed them, unless you burned them alive or burned them, and then you got hunters, and that was it. Or then you got dogs. And then
Right.
in 2, you got lickers, which was different. But then like 4, 5, and 6 was like, you got the hags, you got the guys who actually carry knives, you got the dudes with the chainsaw, you got the Wolverine dudes, you got later on you get redeemers, or then you actually get also Iron Maidens, who are legit like, they're these gray dudes with a giant haunter from Pokemon Smile, red eyes, who are in this like freezer level, and they would like have long arms and grab you.
Jeez.
And then some of them would have like when they grabbed you, they would hold you, and then the spikes would protrude out of their bodies.
Whoa!
I remember those.
And that was the worst. I'm like, oh, they're gonna hug me. They're gonna, don't hug me. Don't hug me, boy.
Don't touch me.
This
And
is
then-
why Tom doesn't like hugs.
Yeah. And then also you had like the cultist dudes who were like just in the robes, and they would always have like a fire arrow. And it's like, go away. I hate you. So it's interesting because like with 1 through 3, it was like you had the what was it, the
Slow zombies.
no, the main boss was like the alpha,
Oh, yeah.
the main one, and then it
Like-
evolved into Mr. X,
Right.
And then later on it became Nemesis because it was more perfected versions of the Tyrant,
Who is literally just
The tyrant.
Terminator.
the Tyrant one, yeah,
The
and
one
so-
that looked like him but wasn't. Had the eye.
yeah, but
on
I
his
mean,
shoulder.
in 1 they introduced him as like the main villain, but in 2 they introduced Mr. X as like he is literally programmed to stalk you.
Nice.
And then in 3, it's a more controlled version where it's supposed to just stalk star members and kill you, and then it just keeps evolving no matter how many times you kill it.
And then later he evolves into wanting to be your friend, and then he's just too clingy, and you feel like you have to get away, but eventually you'll hang out with him maybe.
In Monster Hunter,
Exactly.
I know these games so well.
and you can make food with him and feed your cats.
Oh,
That's what you can do. In
You know what?
Sweet.
I'd be all about that. That sounds great. I want to make a meal with my friends and hang out with cats.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go to Corey's house.
Resident Evil the game.
Oh,
Do it.
and Monster Hunter apparently.
Going.
Monster
I mean,
Hunter?
yeah, Monster Hunter.
Oh, did you not hear that?
Oh, the cats.
Oh,
yeah, you got cat sidekicks that wear
Yeah,
armor
yeah.
that can match your armor.
and they cook food.
I get it now.
Do we want to go into like favorite characters of the series that we've had?
Leon Kennedy.
Leon Kennedy for Corey. Mine's Claire.
All day, all day.
Claire Redfield,
Claire Redfield.
And Sheva.
Sheva.
She's my honorable mention. She's just,
Chris.
she's so cool.
Chris is mine.
I've lived with Leon more. But for me, yeah, it's definitely Leon. But then I think a second it has to be Jill.
Mm.
I mean, just because like I play
Because
with
that
her as
tube top.
one. Oh, and also in the remake, that booty though.
That booty.
That booty.
though.
I mean, also everyone looks good in remakes. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
Chris Redfield's arms just like exploded.
Ugh.
He's like smuggling
Oh, right.
basketballs.
Yeah.
He's smuggling
He
basketballs.
is. My God.
Oh,
He's jacked
boy.
and
He's
fine.
jacked. But also, Albert Wesker though.
Yeah,
The
I was,
dude-
I was gonna say Albert Wesker is probably my
The
favorite. I
dude-
don't have a lot of experience, so it's hard for me to go like, oh, I know these characters very well to be like, oh yeah. But him just throughout, I'm like, that dude's a badass.
If you ever get the chance and you have some time, which you never do, play through 1 through 6 and you get the whole I mean, technically it's like the Albert Wesker story.
Yeah.
Oh.
Except 4, which is like Leon and Kraus and are we in love? Maybe. But shout out to Wesker because he just wears sunglasses indoors.
Yep.
Also, he comes out with, he's like, I'm the leader of Alpha Squad. Also, it's nighttime. Also, I'm wearing sunglasses. It's just like, why? But it was so
He's extra.
It was, I'm fucking
My
about it.
zombies have no.
No pathetic cards, Kaiba. But like, I just imagine him as like he's Guile from Street Fighter. You know, just American Army dude with a giant blonde hair that comes out.
That sticks straight.
Who could be Jean-Claude Van Damme? You know.
Yeah.
But then later on, he becomes like sexy Neo with like the long black jacket
Superpowers.
and just teleports left and right and got like Sharingan eyes. Anyways, Caitlin.
Mr. X.
Oh.
Because you want to hang out with him.
No, I don't know why, but like every time I ever watched games and Mr. X was doing the thing, he just cracked me up. I don't know. I don't know what it is about him. I'm like, oh, there
Hell
he
no.
is. Hey, buddy, he's back again.
Are you saying he's just misunderstood?
No,
What was that
no,
from?
he's a
That looked really
murderous. He's a murderous, giant, towering creature for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh, it's
why.
the
I just really like Mr. X.
No, and
He
compare.
just
good.
he made.
Fuck. Sorry, I was playing. I looked at an image, everyone at home, and then a video played. Don't copy strike us.
It played 2 seconds of an ad.
We're done for. Yeah, no, I don't know. I just like that he would just appear at random, and then he's very goal oriented.
He's a good boy.
He's very
things
driven.
done.
He gets things done.
He's the goodest boy.
He just is very concerned for you.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
He cares about you.
in the
He
se-
cares about you in
Wants
a
to get
way
rid of
where
that pesky life thing you
he's
keep
gonna
having.
find you and kill you.
And he wears a hat in the remake.
And he wears a hat.
Does it really?
He does. In the first one, in the original,
Like
he
a
doesn't.
fedora?
Like it's like a black hat. It's
Oh,
like
yeah, it's a
it
fedora
matches
and a trench
jacket.
coat. I don't know why. He's just so amazing to me.
When you have the polygons to do it.
Character design, baby.
when you have the polygons.
When you have the polygons available, you make Mr. X wear a hat.
But also that Jill Valentine butt, though.
Yeah.
In
that's
two?
fair.
In the
No, and
remake?
just a remake in that GameCube graphics remake.
Oh my God.
I'm about it.
That game still looks decent.
No, I think it's aged really well, and I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the cool
The
thing. It's like
pre-rendered backgrounds are a big part of it.
It cut out for a sec. Which one?
Resident Evil 1.
The remake.
Oh yeah,
Like, yeah, one remake. Like,
remake looks great.
I think the cool thing is that like we're going to start seeing remakes,
Huh?
and I would love to see a
Yeah.
Code Veronica remake.
Start.
That'd be awesome.
Uh,
I mean, they should do
It's
3.
already
and then
happening.
go.
we're happening, but
Well,
We're
no,
in
I
the
mean,
midst of it now.
I mean, it's
Keep doing them.
a general consensus of like we're gonna start seeing a lot more
more and more and more and more and more.
remakes
Remakes.
of older games, and so I'm sure Resident
Oh, yeah.
Evil is in that.
But I mean, you know, we've talked
realm.
about reboots with movies, but with these remakes with games, there's 100% big reason to do it. And as long as it doesn't feel like it's a cut and copy paste with the new engine on there, like people are all for it because with one, they like added so much to it. They called it a remake, but then they changed the inventory slots. They added Lisa Trevor, who was a villain, who was a character that they took out of the original one. You remember Lisa Trevor?
No.
In that house, she was like this like little girl who like grew up like deformed and away from society and aggregated to this giant creepy monster that you could not kill until until Barry helps you, because Barry backstabbed you and
Yeah.
then he helps you with his magnum.
That's right.
Yeah, he does. And then we play Resident Evil. But like that, and then
Wow.
with 2, like how they, you know, changed everything up. They like totally reskinned the whole game. You know, it's not tank control. It's a brand new, built from the ground up game. So imagine what they could do with 3, because 3 is technically out of the original 3 is like the lowest rated one because it again was almost going to be an offshoot game.
There's a lot they
Yeah.
can do with 3.
Maybe people felt like it was like a money grab.
Yeah, I
kinda
mean, it
thing.
kind of was. But
I mean, yeah, but
Code Veronica too, like they're like a lot of people think that should have been the original 3
Mhm.
because that's what they were planning on doing. But then they just didn't want it to not be on the PlayStation, and that's why they didn't put a number on it.
That's what it was.
They wanted it on the Sega Dreamcast, but they're like only number games should be on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's
right.
That's that family love you love, Corey, right?
Yes.
That Sony love. With that, I don't know if there's no rating.
There's no
No
I mean,
rating.
do we want to? Is there any kind of critiquing or
Perhaps.
qualms? God, oh,
It's
I hate
so expansive. I feel like it's hard to have qualms unless you're looking at individual games. Or, I mean, maybe you could look across the franchise and be like, you milked it too hard.
Mm.
But I don't know. It's kind of coming
I-
full circle into being great.
I was gonna say in a weird way, they have so many games, but it allows you to kind of choose your own adventure.
Right.
And it allows you to like, I don't have to put that part of the canon.
Right.
And sometimes you can. But
You can decide what path you go down with the amount of content that's out there.
yeah,
I would say,
especially draft.
having played through as much of 7 as we have, I kind of hope they, in a way, go back to
do you
the
want me
way
to spoil
things
it?
were.
No.
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 Spoil it.
No.
Seven?
It
The end of
ties,
7?
it ties back.
Shoosh.
Oh, okay. guys. Well, I mean, not enough. Like, be it. Don't tie into it. Like, give me Chris. Give me, It's like, yeah, but it's
Here's the
video
thing.
games. Like, let me
I want a game
enjoy my characters.
with Chris and Leon together. That's it.
No,
yeah,
that's what I want.
but you start at the starting point and the end.
have all 4 of them in there.
Isn't that actually 6?
No, they're not. They
Oh,
never played together.
That's
they're
I'm
in
sorry.
it.
That's the movie. That's the movie
But I
after
want-
6.
Mhm.
In the,
Yeah,
in the movie after
I
6,
want a
they
co-op.
run into each other.
I want a co-op where I'm
Okay,
Leon
fair.
and my buddy's Chris, and they just take on the world,
That'd be.
and then they go have a picnic.
And then they ride on
Picnic with Mr. X, our new best friend.
No, they ride on motorcycles together.
But I
They're
want.
just like,
motorcycle.
you're cool. You're cool.
I know.
both be cool.
Well, we haven't actually.
Yeah.
We haven't
Final
talked
Fantasy
about the
15.
main part of like. I don't know if it was a leading reason of why they went first person, but VR was a huge, I think, proponent for Resident Evil 7.
And they
when
tested
it
a lot
launched.
at E3 for years.
Yeah, so I think that was a big decision, which is great. And
I think
if
it's interesting how
anything,
they've switched so much.
like I would like perfect scenario if I was running Capcom, like 7 would inspire a new series,
It's
games?
another 3.
and then but I would still continue. Then like 8 would not be the same as 7. It would like revert back a little bit to like third person,
Mhm.
a bit more of what you recognize, and maybe like or like a halfway point of some kind.
I
that they
mean,
can
it'd be
reach.
cool. I can't
Yeah.
without spoiling it.
Don't spoil.
Well, I guess I mean like gameplay and format, like
Yeah.
more than that. What does a game become third person all of a sudden at the end of it?
These are 4-year spoilers, by the way.
Still.
No, I mean,
We'll
yeah.
finish 7 and then
In terms of 1 through 3 being one style, 4 through 6 being another style, 7 through, it's like Star Wars.
yeah. But I just miss like I feel like the 2-3 Code Veronica 4 and 5, like those were like I would kind of lump them not fully together, but like pretty close together as far as like how you play the game and how it's presented. I know 4 and 5 are a little bit more away, but I guess like 4 being my favorite, I want it to feel more like that, like it's actiony, but you still feel like it still feels like survival horror.
I'm kind of in the middle because
Yeah.
like 4 like was my first one and like I got used to it, and then but kind of knowing what Resident Evil was meant or was started out to be, I really do love 1, and I
Yeah.
really like it's more of a puzzle game than anything.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
with 4, and I kind of say this, and I played other Silent Hill games. I'm like, I could just whoop everyone's ass. Like in 1, it makes you choose a lot of times. Like I can't fight them, and
You
I
have
have
to
to
run.
just run and take 1 hit and then walk away, or else I'm going to lose ammo.
Yeah.
In 4, you're kind of devoid of a lot of danger because you can just shoot your way through things, and the only real reason like you can't shoot your way through things is because you suck at aiming. And like I've done that plenty
Yeah,
of times
yeah,
where it's
yeah.
like, well, no more shotgun, so knife it up. And then that's it. But then like there again, to me that kind of takes away a little bit for me, like takes away the horror,
The
the
horror
danger aspect. With 2, at least with the remake, having an AI that's going to pop out of nowhere and it's unkillable reintroduces that. So
Mhm.
kind of I guess blending our 2 ideologies, it would be like you get that horror, but then you have the action. So you have all the will to do it, but then you can have where in 8
Yeah.
would be like
Like, it doesn't have to
Marguerite comes
be-
out and she's like, ah!
Action, like super action packed,
Just like that too.
Just like that.
I guess really more than anything, I miss third person.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And I'd love to see that series go back to that.
Well, do you like the fact that you could see around the character? Because that's
Yeah.
a big thing in 4.
Well, third person, that's kind of why third person, like for instance, like Batman Arkham Asylum,
games.
is such a specifically it's Asylum. I don't know. I can't remember. I
Yeah.
could be mixing this up. I don't know if they were considering first person or what they were considering originally, but they landed on the third person over the right shoulder
Mm.
specifically. So it was a little bit to the left of the screen, like that look.
Yeah, I like that. That's how 5 was like
It
that.
translated to 5 so well,
Mhm.
and like
Yeah.
I would love to see that because you do get a good sense of your context within the scene, and like you can like see around corners a little bit. I know it's like kind of cheating or
I was
whatever.
gonna
like
say,
your
I have a
character,
question. Like, can you still with third person? Because I feel like when you're first person, it's still it's much scarier
yeah,
because
I can see that.
you are kind of the camera, and so when you're third person. With
You're
games
more
nowadays, you
immersed.
have a little bit more camera movement where you can see behind you and that kind of stuff. With third person, you're kind of like,
Yeah.
and you got to turn around. I mean,
And,
first
like,
person.
I didn't think.
And then like tank controls were ultimately like
The
boom,
worst.
boom. the
Imagine
worst.
first person with tank controls. But that was like I didn't feel less scared of things, with
Yeah.
third person.
I'm just
so-
wondering if it could be
Yeah.
a true survival horror
Mhm.
and be because when it's a third person, like what you're saying,
Mhm.
it kind of seemed like, and I could be wrong. They weren't going for the horror survival aspect. They were more so going for the action with horror elements.
It kind of became like Terminator, where the first one was a horror movie and the second one was like dun 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 dun.
I think it's just like for shooters not being really a thing yet as much then, because especially Resident Evil. I'm sure Resident Evil 1 came out before analog sticks were on the DualShock came out like mid cycle of PlayStation's life. It didn't launch with.
Well,
sticks.
they re-released which one or two?
So you didn't have
it was the DualShock version,
right? DualShock. So there was nothing for the camera.
Yeah,
Like games would have like a camera reset button, maybe.
something is happening in my hands.
Right, but you had
Rumble
4
pack.
directions. So what do you do with 4 directions? It's like,
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I think in terms of just talking about the genre in itself, like that was kind of the point of the first one, where it was like they had pre-rendered places, so like you could never change the camera, so you were doomed to cross the camera this way, and you never knew what was going to happen when the camera cut to an angle where it's like, oh, there's a zombie waiting for me. With
Yeah.
the third person, it's
good.
like I can turn the camera and then like, oh, I know what's ahead
they
of
would
me.
strategically be like, we're not going to show you what's around this corner until you've until you've gone around the
Past it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think again, it's how you blend modern gameplay with the genre that you're trying to use.
Right.
And I think it is like I think we're kind of past fixed camera angles and
pre-rendered.
pre-rendered
backgrounds and
spaces.
stuff, yeah.
So you have to have control of the camera. You have to be able to not have tank controls. But how do you make that scary? Also, you want to have your characters somewhat capable. So like they're Raccoon, or they're Raccoon
they're
City.
raccoons.
Yeah, the Raccoon City Operatives, or they're like Chris Redfield stars. So it's like, how do you make them feel vulnerable, right?
You can find it in other ways.
A good thing what God of War and Assassin's Creed does that I love is that like you make them super dope, and then you play through the first level, and then you take away all their items, and then now you have to get them all back.
Metroid them.
Yeah, you Metroid them, but also like you introduce like Mr. X, where it's like it's gonna haunt you throughout the whole thing, or it's
Yeah.
like as you continue going through the game, you're gonna have less item drops, or you're gonna have like less attaches for like your cases. So it's like, how do you increase tension without it feeling like you're restricting the game what it can be, right? So you add in cool little techniques.
Well, I
in
think
there.
their answer in this case is make it first person, so that you're cutting a little bit of periphery.
Well, I think also as part of the marketing, to your point, where it's like they've been building for a long time, and they were like, we're going back to
VR.
horror, right? And also it's like, this is a character you've never seen, and it's like, what the fuck? What do we expect? How do
Sony
what the
probably
hell?
gave them
Like,
a buttload of money.
yeah, and they're like, what do you mean? Like, there's no T-virus? What do you mean? What the fuck is mold? Why is this family? What's going on? You're like, oh, why am I looking for a wife? Who is this wife? Is she Claire? Is she...
It's like, is she Claire?
And you're like, well, yeah, the entire time you just don't know what's going on.
Right.
And well, yeah.
Yep.
I guess so. It was kind of you're Chris the whole time.
Your fault.
Oh, what?
No, just kidding.
You walk in on Leon being born.
Da-dum,
James Bond, apparently.
yeah, I mean, Leon. I don't know. Leon's so. I don't know. Compared between Leon and Chris, who
What?
you think is more bamf,
More Bamf?
more badass motherfucker?
I'd say it's Leon,
Leon.
as long as he's got
Leon.
that jacket with him.
I don't know, man. Do you think
But
Leon?
without the
do you think-
jacket.
Do you
Without
think,
the
That was
jacket.
cool.
do you think Leon could have
Chris.
beat Wesker?
Even Leon without the jacket, go
think he
play Resident
does.
Evil 2 again.
Yeah, he was so. But I mean, do you think Leon could beat Wesker? Chris beat Wesker.
Yeah, I do think Leon could be Wesker.
I think he could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because to me, Leon's more like the cool, sexy. What's his name? Valentine.
Vincent Valentine.
Vincent Valentine.
There's very little
know?
you can't do with a railgun.
And Chris Redfield's very like, American machismo-ish. So it's like, I don't know, man. In terms of a fist fight,
Yeah, it'd be fine.
because like Leon, in terms of knife fight, Leon would win against Chris all day.
You think so?
Oh, in 4, remember one of his main boss fights was Kraus, and Kraus has like a blade arm, and then you just get like a knife, and that's the only weapon you could use.
Stab.
And
stab.
and it's
stab,
so dope
Stab.
because it's
stab.
just like
Those
cool
are the sound
drop knife.
effects.
It's like in Winter Soldier, the dropping of the knife and shit like that.
Yeah.
Oh, the sexy.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't think there's any qualms we could probably fit into this because again, it's kind of like choose your own adventure with that sense.
Yeah.
But I do look forward to seeing what else can happen. That was it. Project Resistance.
I believe that's what I read. It's
Yeah.
called Project
Do
Resistance.
you guys know about that, Corey?
What is it?
What?
The new Resident Evil game that was announced recently? Oh, by the time we recorded this? It's a team survival game.
Oh, interesting.
So think
Interesting.
think Resident Evil, or think Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead.
So 4 people in the Resident Evil world, and you're just shooting zombies and trying to like escape this place that you're in.
They
Oh.
tried that. They
Ooh.
tried that with whatchamacallit, where you're the Star City.
was
You're
it-
the Umbrella people.
Oh yeah, I think it's
Stars?
called Umbrella Corps.
Oh, Umbrella.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
And
that
it
looks
was
bad.
not good.
But
That
this is the new one. It's called Project Resistance. And by the time we record this,
Hopefully it's a different team working
it's
on it.
new.
Yeah.
But like,
Operation Raccoon City was the name of it.
yeah. See,
Mhm.
I'm telling you, all these fucking weirdos.
And it was you play as the Umbrella, like
And you're trying to clean up so that
SWAT
there's
team.
no
Yeah.
And it was-
evidence.
It was bad.
Oh. Uh-huh.
It was a letdown. I don't say it was bad, but it was like they pitched it as that same kind of thing where it's going to be like a 4-player co-op. Almost felt like if Halo met Resident Evil in a sense, where you're like going through. Anyway, it just fell short.
Because that one they were trying to get into that market of where everybody was, where it was like like Call of Duty and all these ones that people are like, oh yeah, competitive gaming, and they wanted to get into that,
Yeah.
try to get the franchise into that world. Didn't work.
Oh,
Mhm.
Maybe this will
Okay.
work.
so from what I'm reading, it's the closed beta is done.
Oh,
By
okay.
the time we've uploaded this episode, but yeah, it's going to take place during 1998, right before the Raccoon City incident.
Oh.
And you're playing as
interesting.
4 civilians, and then it's an asymmetric online shooter. And so asymmetric,
Yeah. So there's the
you-
enemy is
is a player.
a player.
So remember when we played that one game that I like,
Get
Dead
Out-
by Daylight?
Dead by Daylight. Yep.
So one person's going to be hunting them, and the other people are going to be playing.
I could get behind that.
All of the trailers obviously are all cinematics. It looks pretty dope, and I think
Yeah.
obviously you get to play as Mr. X.
Oh.
Oh.
So yeah, you can play as your
Interesting.
boy.
All of a sudden, this
could be
game
fun.
sounds
Perks
fun.
up.
I'll have to look into that more.
But yeah, I mean, at this point as well, Sony and Xbox are all in bed together. So back online-ish.
We'll
It's a
see.
stretch, but
We'll see.
sure.
I mean, I don't know. It'll say it's available for all modern consoles.
Like
It's
I might
exci-
say hi to a cute girl. It doesn't mean that we're like in a freaking committed relationship.
Says you.
Oh.
I say hi to you all the time.
Well, everybody, thanks for listening.
I feel complete.
I feel complete.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see like future. There will be more Resident Evil games,
Yeah.
so like we'll
Oh,
probably
yeah.
have to do
Of
this
course.
the next 30 games.
Yeah,
Of course.
when we're at 62 games.
Oh, jeez. She'll be like tomorrow.
47 years old.
Well,
Back in my day.
tell us what you think about the Resident Evil video games. What's your favorite? What's your favorite character? Slip and slide in those DMs. It's a thing. I can't
It's
say
Tom's
as
thing.
Tom says because I just said it and I've said it multiple times.
As
So,
Josh says only.
Yes.
And if there's one specifically that you would want us to play, and we could
Yeah.
stream it on our channel or on during Thirsty Thursdays, whatever, because you guys like seeing me play scary games.
Just
for some
not
reason.
me. Please don't let it be me.
You don't have to.
You have to.
Good.
But
Thank
you
you.
have to watch.
Everybody at home.
And then we'll
thank
play
you
video games.
Yeah. Wow. Everybody at home, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate your support. Please share us with your friends, your family,
And zombies.
and your zombie
And your
friends and
frenemies.
family. Check out our website, nerdon.tv. Has all the information about us. And yeah, stop by, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. It does help. But that is it. Game over.
Oh.
You are dead. You are
You
dead.
are dead.
You're dead.
Continue.
You know the drill. As always,
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.